The same day, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan announced a plan to pour resources into law enforcement to address crime in Baltimore. Another type of discussion was happening in the city.
If we really want to trust people, we need to provide them with a structure and resources so that they can achieve and attain, not just simply focus on subsistence policies to just provide them a simple enough to survive, or trying to be punitive and punish their seemingly bad behavior, which frankly manifests as a result from not bad behavior, but simply not having resources in the first place.
The National Asset Scorecard for Communities of Color is a project that assesses the level of and nuances of wealth disparities in cities across the country. At the 21st Century Neighborhoods 2017 Symposium, the project's lead investigators, Dr. Derek Hamilton and Dr. Sandy Darity, discussed their current work on wealth disparities in Baltimore.
With Baltimore was really relevant because of some of the media attention that was going on around criminalization and incarceration. So we wanted to look at another dimension, like what is the role of incarceration as it relates to incarceration and the intersection with race as it relates to asset building.
The Baltimore study assesses the relationships between race, wealth, and family histories of incarceration. As organizations like the Prison Policy Institute have documented, Maryland incarcerates a far higher proportion of Black people than white people. Unsurprisingly, Darity and Hamilton are also finding that more Black Baltimoreans have family histories of incarceration.
If we look at wealth, the median wealth position of Black families is virtually zero and negative if you've had exposure to incarceration.
The exact numbers aren't final yet, but their research indicates that Black Baltimoreans, especially those with a family history of incarceration, not only have far less wealth than white Baltimoreans, but are also less likely to have wealth-building assets that appreciate in value, like stocks, a house, or a bank account.
So if you don't have access to formal banking, you tend to have to resort to check cashing institutions that have much higher fees for banking.
Professors Darity and Hamilton also discussed potential redistributive measures. One was a federal job guarantee program. Another was what's known as a baby bond system.
But the idea is that every child would receive a trust fund. The amount of the trust fund would vary based upon the wealth position of the child's family. And so the wealthiest families, we'd give the newborn child a $50 trust fund, but for families at the lowest end of the wealth distribution, we'd give the kid $50,000 to $60,000.
The money in the trust would accrue interest and eventually could be used to put a down payment on a house or business.
So it's intended to give everybody capital at a key juncture so that they have an opportunity to build wealth. It doesn't guarantee an outcome, but we know that if you don't have a chip in the game, you can't even play the game.
And the professors have some ideas for how to fund such a program.
The estate tax is a potential option, but we can also think about the ways in which capital gains is taxed at the local level, the ways in which mortgage interest is taxed at the local level, and how those benefits and taxes are distributed. People at the low end of the wealth distribution oftentimes don't benefit one iota from these types of taxes. So we can think about caps, for instance, on some of those things. Should you be able to deduct a second home that costs $2 million and get state subsidy to do so? Maybe not.
But for right now, Dr. Darity thinks a more likely way to fund baby bonds would be to call on philanthropists.
The community would seize the opportunity to try to show how this type of project could be done, so we could learn about what needs to be altered or what needs to be changed before we tried to scale it up at the federal level when we have a more politically receptive Congress.
These programs, Darity and Hamilton argue, would represent a shift in how we think of public services.
We invest too much in trying to manage poverty. Stop trying to manage poverty and really think about ways to empower people.
But I think that most of our social programs to address the poverty problem are mechanisms that give you resources after you have already experienced poverty. And I think what we need is a structural apparatus in this society where people don't get exposed to poverty in the first place.
For The Real News, Tharna Noor, Baltimore.